Hello, Internet, and welcome to the show. My guest today is just an all around amazing human being, but beyond that, he is just an incredibly prolific voice actor. He's been in, like, everything. He's been in Dragon Ball. He's been in Street Fighter. He's been in, Your Name, Wreck-It Ralph. Dude's been in everything. Red Dead Redemption, Final Fantasy. A really great actor, a great person, great person. Great episode. Please give it up for Kyle Hebert. And Kyle Hebert, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, somehow surviving this pandemic.
So, one of the great things about hosting an internet talk show is it gives you an excuse to talk to friends you haven't talked to in a while. And you just have always had like such a good spirit, and I've
Good.
just always just been such a sincere person. And you and I are both stupidly busy, so it's always great when I can find an excuse to make something happen. So it's great to chat with you. As far as
Thank
the
you.
pandemic goes, I know I want to know like how you've been dealing with it in terms of just like your mental health, professionally, doing the voice acting, because I know you've got like a home set up, but like
hmm
how is it affecting the industry? How is it affecting you? Because I'm sure a lot of people out there are interested to know what's going on.
Yeah, well, I tell you, the voice acting industry is one of the few that actually seems to be thriving right now because a lot of the voice acting community have had to do a lot of upgrades to be able not just to do auditions, but to be broadcast quality and be able to record with apps like Source Connect and other thing that digitally patch between an engineer's home setup, for example, or maybe a studio if there were people still going in. And the engineers are the unsung heroes. I mean, if there ever are conventions in the future, and I'm sure there will be, just a matter of time, but
Hmm.
I think more engineers need to go and give their side of the story because they have helped walk us through things and hold our hands as we've adjusted to new software, hardware, recommendations on mics, preamps, and whatnot. And the projects have still been flowing. I've been doing a lot of anime dubs, a couple of games, Netflix, a lot of anime on Netflix and Crunchyroll, and a lot of live action dubs from Europe and Asia for Netflix as well. And so I'm very thankful that that's still there. The cons going away has been a real tough kick in the nads, I'll be honest, because there goes a great source of income. So making rent and making your bills is a little bit harder now. But I've been able to do pretty well with Cameo, my little custom video shout outs. There's a lot of DBZ fans out there, and get a couple of those each day from fans wanting to wish happy birthday or anniversary or just cuz to their friends. So that's been a real blessing. Plus, I've just started up a more dedication to Twitch, which a lot of voice actors are doing too. And I think Twitch is just blowing up right now because people are home and they're going stir crazy,
Right.
right? So mental health wise, I've been okay because it's me and my wife, and we're homebodies anyway. We're introverts. We love our home. She's a great housekeeper, and that's what she wants to do. I'm the breadwinner, and now I can literally roll over out of bed and into this recording space, the walk-in closet, and do stuff. I don't have to look pretty. I don't have to dress up. I don't have to drive anywhere. Sure, I miss seeing people and getting some FaceTime with people, but this is so convenient, and I love doing it that way. And honestly, it's too scary to go back into any physical places right now, especially since California is one of the hot spots, and things are probably going to get a lot worse before they start getting better.
Well, I'm glad you're doing okay because, with this when you're friends with artists, you've got a wide variety of people who are hit in different ways. Me being in Nashville, so many of my friends who sole living were those bar gigs are just
Yeah.
completely screwed, and so it's always, to me, it feels really good because this is a hard time. But when I see like some of my friends doing well, it just makes me so happy. So I'm just like sincerely happy for you, for your health. Like, you look good, you're looking slim
Thank
and
you.
trim, you're in fighting shape. You know,
So,
you're Mystic
woo.
Gohan, you're ready to kick ass. Like, you're looking great. Your spirits feel good. And so, like, but as far as the Twitch thing, what are you doing on Twitch specifically?
I know originally it was just for gaming, but now it's kind of opening up and becoming kind of a second haven for vloggers and whatnot. So right now I'm just focused on just beaming games from my PS4, although I've ordered a capture card, so I'll be able to make things look a little bit nicer and pimp out the chat and all that and make things look prettier. Um, Hopefully in the next couple weeks. I managed to, because I've paid more attention and been streaming more regularly, I've been able to bump up to affiliate. And
Congratulations.
thank you. And now trying to work towards partner, trying to make that thing. And it's a hard thing, and I know it's not going to happen overnight. The voice actors who have been doing this for a few years and have got a good following says, yeah, everything you hear is true. That the people that are doing well have really busted their butts to do this. So it's almost as if your hobby becomes your job. And I hope it never feels that way, because voice acting to me has never felt like a job. And it's like I'm able to cobble a living together doing that, which is great. And I love playing games. I'm a casual gamer. I'm terrible. I just do button mashing. I can't remember combos. I'm not competitive in the least. But what I do love doing is just go marching around, shooting, fighting, and whatnot, and mostly just to interact with people on the chat and make them feel like I'm there in the room with them or whatnot. So just another method of escape. And I do plan on just doing regular old sit down and chats like this, like in this podcast setting, you know, uh, whether it's like Zoom or Skype or something like that, where I'll just sit there and talk to people. And yeah, it's really cool. So I've been doing a little homework, researching, watching videos on how to, learning all the ins and outs of Discord, which I'm going to be launching soon
Yeah.
too. And
No,
wow, it's crazy.
it is a lot because I, have also gotten stir crazy. So I started the YouTube channel, and
Good.
we just got over 1,000 subs after 3 months. So kicking butt, having fun with that.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Yes.
But I'm sort of in the same place where just like I'm stir crazy. I need to do something and just going nuts. And so I completely understand where you're coming from.
Mhm.
So one thing I have a bit of curiosity with,
Sure.
because you and I we both know a bunch of voice actors, and what I notice about you in particular in comparison to other voice actors is that you seem to be, and I hope you take this the right way, an authentic nerd. Like, you're
Yeah.
really into the stuff. And I noticed that a
Yes.
lot of voice actors are just like guys who maybe fell into it, but it's maybe they're not like having the encyclopedic knowledge of Star Wars and stuff. But
Right.
like, you seem to be like as much of a DBZ fan as like the fans. Like, you seem to be like super into it, just like, I get to play Gohan. This is sick, bro.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but do you find that you are on? Do you find that makes it easier to relate to the fan base that way because you're just like ready to get into the nitty gritty of power level theory and stuff too?
Well, I think, when you endear yourself with the fandom community and you are someone in the industry, I think it behooves you to try and make that connection. It's special.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have common interest and it's not just a gig, it's not just, something that you do for yourself. It's something that has mutual benefits for the people who watch. Entertainment is escapism. It is therapeutic. It helps people with depression. It's a great way to pass the time. So, yeah, I get
I
so
know it's a
I'm
loaded
50.
question.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. I think I was starting to answer it, and then I totally forgot what the question was.
Well, it was saying so in terms of so for example, I would say like our buddy Eric Stewart is into some nerdy stuff, but he is
Sure.
not as much of a nerd as you, and I mean that in like the best way. You know what I mean? Like,
No, no, no. I totally get what you're saying, and getting some geek cred with and there are people way more nerdier than me,
right.
and I'm not trying to attain more levels of nerddom. I think that the fandom community is supportive of everyone, no matter what their fan level is, whether they're casual or new to it, or deeply entrenched and know so much useless trivia that it will never, it'll never do anything but become a fun game on a stream sometime. But it's great to be able to live out my life doing something that I've wanted to do since I was a kid and be involved in pop culture, which is something I've been fully a fan of my whole life.
Yeah, and I think the main thing I know is that you share the same funny memes my friends do, and just like, oh
Yeah,
man, so that's sort of like my judgment was like, oh, like Kyle like isn't just like a guy who shows up for the paycheck, like he knows like the funny memes. So that's like how I know like you're into it, and I like you have so much of my respect for just like your authenticity just comes
thank you.
across the board, and so
Thank you.
I wanted
See,
to.
you understand that, and thank you because I'm 51, and inside me is really like a 15-year-old or an 18-year-old. It's like I don't want to grow old. I'm young at heart, and connecting with the youth and creative force that's out there right now in the YouTubes and the Twitch of the world and all that, and being able to create content
Mhm.
is kind of just uprooting Hollywood. It's like this is the new Hollywood, and it's great. So thank you for the kind words. I absolutely appreciate that.
Yeah, you're just like you're an enthusiastic, kind-hearted person. Like there's what's not to love. Uh,
Oh,
so
well, you're a rock and roller. What's not to love,
oh,
man?
there's a number of things not to love about me. We could get into that. But actually, I have to touch on this because for me, it's always really fun when like I'm playing a video game or I'm watching a movie, and then like I hear like your voice or the voice of someone I know. I'm just like, oh shoot, I didn't know they're in this, and it's always really fun. The one that I was talking about with my wife because she didn't realize it was you. We played the second Star Ocean game, where
Hmm.
you played Diaz, and
Yeah.
she hated that character so much. and and I thought Diaz was rad. Like, man, he's got long hair. He's like all badass and crosses his arms. This guy is great. And Kyle plays him, and like that went over her head. And so she was saying like, who does Kyle play again? Like, oh, he played Diaz. Like, he played Diaz, and she's like, oh, I feel bad about all the bad things I said about Diaz. but uh,
Yeah.
but you've played like so many you've been involved in so many projects that like I like independently, and then I happen to, and it gives me that extra layer of appreciation. Like your name, my stepkid showed me that, and I think that's one of the
Nice.
best movies ever made. Period.
Yeah.
Like that is probably the number one romance film. Like the only competition for me is the 1939 Wuthering Heights. Like it's that good, and so
Yeah.
like I think it's you've got to be just super proud, just like the projects you've been involved with, and just the sheer quality.
Dude.
Your
Yeah.
name is a freaking great film. Dragon Ball Z, like that show is just has so many great like metaphors for life. Where just
Yeah.
like the hyperbolic time chamber, like as a concept of just like hunkering yourself in a room and working and getting better, and that metaphor for life. There's just like so many little individual things, and so I was just kind of a rant, but just like your stuff is cool, bro.
No, thank you. Thank you. I am so grateful that I've been able to do this and be a part of so many things that mean so many things to so many people, whether it's a show or a game or a movie. You mentioned your name that was nominated, I think, for an Oscar. It didn't make it, but it was nominated. And I think Wreck-It Ralph was too. But I didn't make it in that, but I can just truly say I'm in an Oscar nominated movie. So it's like, that doesn't suck being a part of things that I'm a fan of, things that I've grew to be a fan of because of my association with it. Like I knew about Fire Emblem, but I hadn't played it until I started signing so many autographs for Frederick in Fire Emblem Awakening. And then a lot of Star Ocean love, not necessarily for DS, but for Aromat and Crow in the other game. And it's like, wow, because I recorded that in China, believe it
Oh
or not.
wow.
I actually flew to Shanghai and we recorded it there. And this was before, obviously,
Right.
the
Before
long before the proverbial poop hit the fan. So yeah, very different time. But I have been able to have such adventures and see the world and meet fans and industry people I've looked up to for years. It's such a fantastic, wonderful experience, and I'm going to do this as long as I can.
Yeah, the man being in entertainment is a great cheat code to meet people you think are cool. It's just,
Right?
I mean, like that's basically how we connected. Where just I was in a band and the band were friends with you, and I added you as a friend. Like, hey, I'm probably going to run into you at a con at some point, so I just add you as a friend in advance. And then the band broke up, and then that never happened. But it's still funny because like I've basically like gotten to interact with all my heroes. Like I got to Paul McCartney was like the ultimate. I'm like, okay, I got to
Dude.
chat with McCartney. That's the
Oh my
like.
God.
So it's like I
Wow.
can't go any higher than that. Like it's just
Right.
at that point it's heads of state and just like I don't feel like talking with Trump. I'm alright. So it's like
No, you don't want to touch Trump.
yeah, I don't really want to. But I think that's and I think as an artist, you can get burnt out by the grind sometimes, and sometimes when you're not as
Yes.
successful as you want, you can feel a bit burnt out. But the perk of just meeting the people and on that journey and like the friendships and bonds that you make, and just the beautiful, beautiful people you would not have been able to interact with, and that's not just like the artists and the entertainers, like the
Right.
fans too, like and I know you can relate this. Like I've got I'm not the biggest musician in the world, but I've still gotten fan mail of just people saying, you encouraged me to follow my dreams, and then I see them doing a stand-up special on Comedy Central, like, oh shit, you did better than me, bro. I'm glad I inspired you. But it's so fulfilling, like the people that you meet on this journey and these adventures. Like entertainment, I think doesn't get in some ways, people worship the movie stars too much, but I think they don't get
Yes.
enough credit for how it like is so cathartic for the soul, and how great art can really change you and be profound and just be at the core of your being.
Yeah, and I think that speaks true of anyone in any career. If corporate America is what they envision and they feel that's what's calling to their soul, then that's where they need to go. If they want to be a doctor or a lawyer or a politician, whatnot, you have this creative urge within you that you can only satisfy by working towards those particular goals. And anyone will tell you that it's more important than making a lot of money or being famous is that you get rich, your soul gets rich on doing something that you love and being able to balance that with making a living and getting your bills paid and all that stuff and staying afloat and living a comfortable lifestyle. That's the best of all worlds.
Yeah, and man, once again, just I'm so happy you're making it through. You're like I said, you look healthy, you look happy,
Thank you.
and those are the two things I'm worried about for everyone, because like you got to take care
Yes.
of your physical health like really extra during this time frame. I'm doing a terrible job at that because like my kitty cat just died, so I'm doing depression eating like the entire jug of ice cream and stuff like that.
Very sorry to hear that, but I totally understand. We lost our toy poodle a couple of years ago, and we just now got a new one. But yeah, yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah. But I'm still making sure to at least work out every day to compensate for this. Like, okay, I'm doing the bad depression eating, but I'm still, shoving down, making sure I get in my jogging and all that stuff. What are you doing to stay like healthy during this time frame? Like, are you, eating certain diets? Like, are you more vigilant than you were before the outbreak?
I think I'm more vigilant because I have a wife who stays on me, and this is the best way possible. She helps keep me in line. She's helped me discover that gluten was kind of holding me back um, from everything. Food affects mood,
Mm-hmm.
and I noticed that I could stay a little more calm. And yeah, we've gone to counseling together. I got on some antidepressants, and a nice side perk was being able to drop weight a lot easier. So a lot of home cooked meals, a lot of stuff like that. We've got some exercise equipment here, but I'm going to be totally upfront and honest. I haven't worked out. I managed to drop the weight and I managed to kind of maintain where I've dropped. I've like dropped like 50 pounds since the past couple of years. And, I was hovering at around 300, between 280 and 300 for years. And then I got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And now I'm happy to report for the past couple of years, I haven't needed any meds for that. I never needed, insulin shots or anything. And hopefully I can keep that at bay. Once you have it for the rest of your
Right.
life. But if you can suppress the symptoms and, it's almost like you don't have it, but you do have to keep an eye on your sugar intake. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely more aware about what we're eating, and we try not to go too crazy, and not just down in a gallon of ice cream left and right
Right.
and all that. But I'm sure everyone can relate to that feeling, waking up and just not wanting to get up and not wanting to shave and not wanting to bathe. And it's like, what do I have to do this for? I don't even have to wear pants today. I don't want to adult. I just can't adult. But I think what will help you stay grounded is, and I learned this through different therapy books, self-help books, is that reminding what is good in your life,
Mm-hmm.
and jogging, or not jogging, but the jotting down, sorry, journaling,
Mm-hmm.
writing down things every day, just two things. This is what I do every day. I open my notes app on my phone and my like things I'm grateful for, and I save it. And every day I add two things I'm grateful for. And sometimes, yeah, it's the same things. Like, oh, my wife, my daughter. It's like, but
But
my
those are great.
challenge.
Those are great things to be grateful for. Like,
Oh my gosh, yes.
because I was talking with my buddy Billy Morris, who played guitar in Warrant and Quiet Riot, and he's sort of like settled down now, has a family, and was talking about how fulfilled he is, to have his family, his kids, and people have like the dreams of like being big in entertainment, but I think a lot of people lose sight of just like how fulfilling the family life is, and having a
Yes.
family, raising a child, taking care of that child, having a life partner, and just like those things are incredibly fulfilling in and of themselves. And so I know there's like the stereotype of like the guy at the office who imagines oh, what if I had the supermodel and I was the rock star and I wasn't married to my wife. And like, dude, you're married to this great woman. That fantasy is not a good one, because you have so much already. Like, maybe you want to desire for a different career, but I feel like the family stuff is just so important, and I think it's taken for granted from a lot of people. And I know I'm guilty of that to myself to a degree, because I was so focused on career and wanted to move to that next level. But I, really evaluating things like how blessed I am to have the woman I have in my life.
And I think what you don't, I mean, people underestimate the people that don't have that life or haven't met the one or
Hmm.
haven't, upgraded their life from just a single bachelor living check to check to having a family and responsibilities and the beautiful gift that is becoming a parent and things like that they can't relate to because they haven't gone through it. So they can't truly judge it. But once you've gone through it, then you look back and say, oh yeah, I remember my crazy days back in the day. But boy, if I could take what I knew now and apply it back then, where would my life be now? We always have that hindsight is
Right.
2020 thing, but we can also learn every negative experience you go through. You can take something positive out of it and help mold and shape your evolution as time goes on.
So your wife, she writes books, right?
She has written books. She's kind of taken a hiatus from that, but she's a very creative type. She's got a lot of ideas jotted down. She's arts and crafts person and all that. Right now, she games a lot on her iPad. She loves The Sims and designing home type games and things like that. And we are like best friends. We're big movie lovers, so we stream a lot of movies and we watch. We're horror buffs, and what's great is we both like it cold. We're both hot natured, so we sleep with the fans on high, and even in the dead of winter, we bundle up under the blankets and we keep it. We both like lukewarm showers, so it's like that's refreshing.
So I just interviewed a horror actress on the last episode, which isn't out yet at the time of this recording. But
Okay.
I'm not a horror guy, and so I want to
Okay.
know what is the appeal of horror to you? Because I'm not a guy who wants to like write off something and say I don't understand it. I want to try to understand. What is the appeal of horror to you?
Well, I've never been one for, I'm not an adrenaline junkie, so I wouldn't jump out of airplanes and bungee jump and do all that stuff. That's just not in me. I can't even stand roller coasters. But the energy, the adrenaline rush that I get from being scared or being uncomfortable and knowing that it's a controlled environment,
Hmm.
that I have the control. It's like, if this is freaking me out, all I have to do is turn it off. Or if I'm in a theater, all I have to do is just get up and leave. And I remain grounded. This is just a movie. And being a movie buff, I am so aware of all the elements involved, the sound design and lights and makeup and all that. And it's just putting it all together into a puzzle where it's all illusion. And that's, my wife gets on me for, it's like, you ruined the magic of it. And it's like, yeah, but isn't it fascinating? Isn't it so cool that, we watch things like The Exorcist, and which she hadn't seen. And I was like, that's my favorite horror movie of all time. It's like, oh, wow, that's cool. And just, I think, yeah, I mean, it's also just entertainment, the way that an action film is adrenaline for people who like watching stuff blow up or race, and people shooting like John Wick. And it just depends on what your scene is, and I totally get why horror is a turn off for a lot of people. And there's different genres within, there's
Right.
subgenres. So there's the psychological horror. It's more of a thriller. There's a more gore based one. There's more jump scare one.
Right.
And some are a combination of the above ones. So, I mean, you could sit down and watch any one of those varieties and decide, none of it just speaks to me. And that's fine. I'm never going to try and convert anyone to it. But yeah, if you feel it isn't your bag, I'm cool with that, because I love all genres of movies. I love comedy. I love sci-fi. I love action. I love documentaries. Oh my God. It's crazy.
Well, I think just with me, I'm very much I like to challenge my weak spots. Like parts of me where I'm noticed like I have a blockage is what I want to challenge. Like when I went to jazz camp every summer in high school, I signed up for the hardest classes or the stuff I had no respect for. So I thought beatboxing was dumb, and then I signed up for the beatboxing class and then learned to respect it. And so I like most genres of movies, and I like some horror movies, but I have trouble getting past the victimization aspect.
Sure.
Um, and that probably has to do with like my childhood and like having like a really rough childhood, and not
Right.
liking the lack of power and the lack of agency, which is why I liked Your Name so much, because in so many of the movies, like in that anime genre, the characters would have just given up and would have been sad and just like, oh, I guess there's nothing we can do. That's just
Mm.
destiny and fate. And then there'd be the sad piano music, and it would just be a statement about the futility of life. But what I loved about Your Name and what made it brilliant was the character said, no, screw this. We're going to change it. We're going to take agency. We're going to save the town. Even if it seems impossible, we're going to go for it. And
Right.
that's when I realized, like, like it was already like it had me sucked in. And then when I got to the part where like everyone was dead years ago, I'm like, ah, geez, one of these movies. But then when it turned it around and they had that agency, I was like, hell yes. And that was when I was, jumping out of my seat, declaring it a masterpiece. And when they just went for it, like that was beautiful. And like me, like I had a dream about Freddy Krueger last night, and I just beat the shit out of him in my dream. So
That's cool.
I'm not about powerlessness. I'm all about taking power. And I think that's where horror has that disconnect with me. Like, do you notice that in horror films? Like, why don't they just punch
Yeah.
this dude?
Yeah. I mean, there are tropes, and, there's a lot of victimization that doesn't have to be that way. There's the exploitation aspect. I mean, making a low rent B movie that's just, gore and sex and this, that, and the other. It is what it is. And you can find some camp value out of it, or say, no, that's too shocking. I'm just not into that. I don't get anything out of that. But yeah, your experience, the mileage will vary, of course, based on how the script is turned, how the acting is, how the direction turns out, all that. Not necessarily special effects or the
Mm.
gore or the lack thereof, but, there are themes, obviously, in horror that are triggers. And that is very off putting for a lot of people. And you can have triggers in any genre.
Oh yeah,
Honestly, it's
absolutely.
it's not relegated to that, because, woo, I mean, but
Well, I
it
like if a movie's gonna be dark, I want it to have a point. Um,
sure.
and sometimes the point is just like the gore is cool, but like I think Nightmare on Elm Street, for example, I'm not a horror guy. I think that's a masterpiece and a great film. I'd watch that anytime.
Okay.
So I'm not just like, oh, all horror is bad. It's more just like I'm much more choosy and picky. Like Sweeney Todd is one of my favorite movies of all time, and that's
Sure.
like a horror musical. So I'm not just like all horror, but like I need to get something more out of it versus like an action movie is like this is a dumb power fantasy. All right, I'm on board. But like every
Yeah.
time I'm watching a horror movie, I'm just like, man, if Goku were here, he'd one shot this dude. So I don't
Sure.
take the villain seriously.
Yeah, I often ended up becoming fans of different films that I never imagined that I would, like Goodfellas and Casino, and
Mm.
loving Scorsese for all his mafia type stuff and his characters and Taxi Driver and all this stuff. And yeah, there's a lot of bleak, depressing, apocalyptic stuff going on, but it's the characters, it's things that people can relate to. And same with comedy, same with all sorts of genres, and hopefully sci-fi if they're doing it right.
Oh yeah.
Shows like Firefly and Battlestar Galactica that can transcend the genre they're in because they're the background. It's really about the characters.
Yeah, I think strong characters are just central to good storytelling. Like you can I feel like there's sort of like two schools of thought with like fantasy and sci-fi, where it's like all the world building, or hey, let's just like have like good characters in this world. And I feel like so much it gets lost in like the lore aspect of it. And I think that's why Game of Thrones was so big, was because hey, we're gonna have really interesting characters in this world.
Yeah, and it wouldn't have worked as a 2-hour movie. I now love that TV is going through its new golden age with the streaming formats.
Hmm.
So you can take time over the course of a season. It may be 6 episodes, it could be 20, who knows? But you take the time to let the characters breathe, let the storyline, and if it's if adapting a book or whatever, it has the time to pay attention and not cut huge chunks and subplots out just because you want the running time faster.
So, what are you watching now? What's your current streaming addiction? Were you jamming to Hamilton, or the new Netflix movie? Like what's currently in the household?
What did let's see. We recently watched, what's the Charlize Theron one? Based on a comic book that just came out. It's an action movie where they're immortal, but
Ah,
they're
I
soldiers.
I am
I
blanking
forgot
on
the
it.
name. I'm blanking on it too. It was good, not great, but I'm looking forward to the Umbrella Academy. I think that comes out this Friday, but I like season one a lot. I thought that was really, really impressive. We loved Breaking Bad. I know that was AMC, but we ended up watching it all on Netflix. We love Ozark. We love. We're behind on that. We're behind on Handmaid's Tale. We finished Orange Is the New Black. Um, Watchmen was awesome earlier this year. We love Westworld. Oh, so many things. We love What We Do in the Shadows on FX. That is a hilarious mockumentary from Taika Waititi,
Yep.
who directed Ragnarok and JoJo and Jojo Rabbit. And yeah, there's so much great stuff out there. We started The Witcher, and it's like, it's okay. It's no Game of Thrones, but maybe it's not trying to be. So that's okay. We were truly disappointed, like most of planet Earth, with the last season of Game of Thrones. But the rest of the show was just like, this is peak television. This is where it's at, man.
Yeah, I think they could have pulled off the like. I'm not upset with the end point. I actually think it's really clever, and I know that had to be based off of Martin's notes, because there's no way the showrunners would be like, "Let's make Bran the king." So that's definitely
Right.
what was going to be in the book. But just I think the delivery in like maybe just like the final scenes just didn't work. But like I bought Daenerys turn evil, like basically just Tyrion's speech about how Bran should be the king was like I think that was the only point that didn't work for me. But otherwise, I was fine with season 8. It worked for me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there are definitely elements that were extremely strong and well done. From a tech perspective, though, that one episode when it first aired and no one could see the battle because it was
Right.
dark, and the creators were like, "Well, it's like real war. If it's dark and there's no light, you don't know who you're fighting against. So you want to have that confusion." It's like, well, you still want to see what's going on because at the end you are a viewer, and because I guess I was let down, I'm in no rush to acquire a 4K DVD to watch it, in its true uncompressed video. But yeah, that was different. But all in all, I think it's worth the journey. Even if something peters out in the end or doesn't work out the way you want, I don't write off the whole thing just because it doesn't end the way that you think it should. The whole fan entitlement thing, because everyone has their own ideas about where things should go, and how do you split that line between I'm the creator and all that, even though the producers weren't the creators of this content as George R. Martin, but the Benioffs and all that were handling that, and then they were going to hand them the keys to a Star Wars trilogy, and it's like, no, not so much. I'm like, okay,
I
all
think
right,
I think they had a bad case of senioritis. You could just tell they were antsy to get it done, and
yes,
And I think that's unfortunate. I think he should like that's what makes Breaking Bad such an outlier is that it stayed good,
Yes.
and just makes because what that ended like around the same time as Dexter, which
Yeah.
just really just man, what a ridiculous show in retrospect. Just how much they dropped the ball at the end of that show. Um, but when you look at those side by side, it's like Breaking Bad was just good from beginning to end, and they didn't go in with a plan of what they wanted to do. They had like a vague idea of like where they wanted Walter White to end up, but they just allowed it to organically grow. Um, so that's to me is just masterful storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love the Netflix, El Camino as well. To tie it in. I haven't watched any Better Call Saul. I need to get on
Yeah,
that.
neither have I. And it's so weird because like how good Breaking Bad is, and how everyone says, yeah, Better Call Saul is like the same thing. It's still great, and we're still just like, yeah, we should do that. It's like I was a big Naruto guy,
Yeah.
where I would say the storytelling and craft of that I would say is probably the greatest story ever told by humans, in my opinion. Where I like
Nice.
Dragon Ball better. But
Sure.
I recognize like on an intellectual level, like Naruto is probably the best human storytelling has ever gotten to, and people think I'm crazy because like some Naruto fans maybe give the fan base a bad name,
Right.
unfortunately, and they're like, no, you don't realize like how this is actually masterful storycraft. But like I haven't checked out Boruto at all because like, man, I just spent like 10 years of my life being into this. Like I can't go back in. I invested
Yeah.
so much, and like now like seeing this kid, like I'm not ready. I need some space to breathe and like just know what a commitment to my life Boruto would be.
And yeah, it's different for today's generation because they can just binge watch all these shows in
Mm.
one setting or sitting over the course of a weekend or,
You can't
a
binge
couple
watch
months.
Naruto in a weekend.
You
That ain't
can't be,
happening.
yeah, or One Piece with 900 episodes. You have to dedicate years, even if you binge it.
Are you in One Piece
So
also?
I am, yes.
I see. That's how I'm like a fake nerd girl. Where I'm just like, hey, are you in that too, man?
Dude, I'm in almost everything. It's like Toonami every Saturday night is pretty much the Kylie Bear cameo show. I'm always somewhere in the background. Most shows, My Hero, I'm in there as Fat Gum and just background stuff on a lot of things. So yeah.
No, I've done some guest episodes on a Final Fantasy podcast, and they're like,
Hmm.
"Oh, you got to interview Kyle for the podcast." And I just like kept forgetting to do this. So I'll probably send this episode for their feed. Like, yeah, this counts. Any? Oh yeah. So I just so that counts for them. Any particular Final Fantasy stories you want to share, or any comments on the series and your roles in it?
Well, I've done some bit parts, including the Seven remake, and in that Kingsglaive movie. I wasn't in the game, but I was in the movie.
Hmm.
I was La Brea, the first version on Final Fantasy 14. I go back to playing Final Fantasy 7 when I first got my PlayStation 1 back in the day. And I didn't, RPGs, I'll be honest, is just not one of my things. I love shooters, racers, platformers. And RPG things are so detail oriented. I understand some people love stats in manipulating those and building things up and character creation and all that. I just want to go out there and do stuff. I like instant gratification. So
Right.
I didn't stick to the grind, as it were, enough to play RPGs
I mean,
long enough. But I'm thankful because hey, man, the fans have made RPGs my bread and butter because I'm in a lot of
you
RPGs.
are in a lot of RPGs, and the thing that's what's funny is that there's a the joke about gamers like there's video games, there's RPGs. Now a lot of them don't consider RPGs to be real video games. Like that stigma still exists to a degree. And the thing is, like, my wife won't play any video games that aren't RPGs. That's the only kind she'll play, and she'll only play them with me. So, and she's like, I'm not a gamer. I just like RPGs. And me, like, I I don't really play much video games anymore because just the business of life and just like I'm involved in all the projects, and so
Yeah,
that's nice that I play video games with her because it's like my excuse. It's like, oh, this is wife bonding time, so it counts.
that's right.
But I
That's
definitely
right.
I love platformers. I think that's probably in terms of pure satisfaction, it's hard to top like old school Mario, like Super Mario
Absolutely.
Brothers, Mario World, like those side scrolling platformers, or like Crash Bandicoot or Sonic. Like it's hard to top that for me. I'm not into first person shooters, but third person shooters, I'm all game for that.
Nice.
Racing games. But yeah, RPGs for me, like I think that RPGs are um I wish they were books, but they're stories that are told in this format. And so if I don't want to just watch YouTube clips, that's how I have to consume them. But I'm not like attached to the gameplay either. I'm just like, yeah, I'll do this so I can experience the story. Like I guess I'll do these battles and stuff. So even a guy who loves RPGs and plays them all the time, like, yeah, whatever. The gameplay's not good. I know that.
And then there's the games with so many cutscenes that it might as well just be a movie.
Right?
Like, wasn't there a Metal Gear Solid game a few years ago where you would just pick up your controller, run around for 10 seconds, and then have to put it back down again to watch the next movie? It's like, okay, well, all right.
Well, it depends on what you want out of it. Like for me, it's just RPGs. I'm like 90% of the time I'm playing it for the story to experience the story,
Yes.
and then like the other 10% is like, okay, I need to play this for completionist sake, and also do this on this Final Fantasy podcast so I can get press for my band because I have a music video to plug or something. So, but most of the time it's just like in general, and that's actually changed in recent decades. But if you want a good storytelling in gaming, like RPGs were your way to go. But now, like, it seems like almost all games have that like RPG level of storytelling. Aside from just like pure fun like platformers and stuff, where it's just like
Sure.
even though there are Mario RPGs, it's not typically like that story heavy. But
Mhm.
like it seems like every other game is sort of caught up to the RPG genre in terms of storytelling, at least from what I've noticed.
Yes. Yeah. And it seems like today you get hybrid games. You get things that may not have come out the same way had they come out in like the 90s or definitely not the 80s. Arkham Asylum, the way it came out is not the way it would have come out, decades ago.
Right.
So you have that. You have the hindsight and this plethora of games and storytelling techniques that the creators are mashing up and creating new hybrids and new original ways for us to consume content. And now it's just, let's amping up the game to VR. I haven't crossed over. I don't have an Oculus or a PlayStation VR yet. I'm holding out. I can't wait for a PS5. I have a feeling that VR is going to be the one to go for. But for right now, the cost is keeping me away.
Right.
And I don't want to wear a heavy helmet. I want them to size it
Just
down.
wait
And
for Neuralink, bro. Just call up
Neuralink,
Elon.
call on Elon, say, hey, man, can I have a Tesla? And can I have a Neuralink? Oh, that's just scary because we used to make jokes. Remember, there was like PS8. It's just tap your temple,
I mean,
and you can.
I mean, we're probably really close to human immortality, and that is one of the things that I worry about with that is that immortality through technology is probably gonna happen in our lifetime,
Yeah.
based upon the way the technology is going, and it's probably going to only be for the very wealthy at first, and
Mhm.
that is going to cause a civil war. And I am terrified of when that happens because, like, wait, so you can make sure that nobody has to die, and you're hoarding this.
Yeah.
That is going to be the pitchfork moment, and that is going to be absolutely terrifying. And they're not going to like think about that when they announce it, like, hey, we have immortality. It's $1 million. And like
Yeah.
that is a really scary thing, and I know that's like gonna happen in like 20 years,
Yeah.
and
Like Altered Carbon. Have you seen that on Netflix?
I have
It's a
not seen it.
sci-fi where they call them sleeves. They basically upload your whole brain into
Mm,
a computer hard drive. And, when your old person dies, they basically give you a new body and then download into that. So someone who was an Asian 500 years ago, or suddenly, and this is like distant future. So suddenly they're a white chick or whatever. So
right.
you see all this different, wow. Like, what would you do if you could live forever? And like you're experiencing life in different genders, orientations, colors, you know, what is the core you? I mean, there's a movie by the Wachowskis, Cloud Atlas, that tried to tackle that too. Not sure how well it worked, but yeah.
So I know we're running out of time, and so I'm just gonna go go deep for the home run. What
Okay.
is the most profound experience you've had in your career? The work where you're just like the most proud of, where you're just like the message felt deep, profound, you knew you would touch lives with it, you were just super proud of it. Like, what is the thing that you think is maybe like the most beautiful artistic thing you've done that can touch the human soul? Because you've done a lot of great stuff. Like, what do you think is,
Thank you.
that peak for you?
I tell you, the stories I've been told by fans from Gurren Lagann, so the character I voiced, Kamina, how inspirational and positive and a force of good that helped pull people literally from the brink. They were so depressed. They were on the edge of just offing themselves, and it was
Mm-hmm.
terrible. And they felt like they couldn't reach out to anyone. And they started watching that show, and that was a character that resonated with them. And I feel so honored that I got to be a part of something that was transformative and therapeutic and made a difference and inspired. It's also easy to say the Dragon Ball Z with Gohan and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I've met so many people that say Gohan's my favorite character and he inspired me to do this. It's not all necessarily martial arts or anything. It's like I met a cop that said he wanted to get into law enforcement. It helped motivate him. So it's like hearing stories about getting to do any sort of thing has been special. And I've gotten to see and read and hear these things, whether in person or online. And that's the icing on the cake, man. I mean, it's more soul fulfilling than a paycheck to get your rent taken care of or anything else. It's like, wow, I helped someone. That feels so good.
No, and I don't think I've actually told you this, but basically, like Dragon Ball Z was like one of the only bright spots in my childhood. Like I
Hmm.
had a really rough childhood, like drunk, abusive stepdad. Got into a lot of fights at school. It's just my life was constant fighting, but Dragon Ball Z was the good kind of fighting.
Yeah.
It was very cathartic in a way, and just seeing good guys fighting bad guys and justice. Like the things that sort of got me through my childhood were RPGs and shonen anime, and like Dragon Ball Z was a bright spot in a rough patch of my life. And unlike a lot of things from my childhood where you go back and look at it and just like, oh, that show kind of sucked, like Dragon Ball just got better with age, and it's like, oh,
Yes.
this is, it's not just the nostalgia. I can enjoy it like on the surface level plus the nostalgia. But I don't think I ever told you that you were like a huge positive part of my childhood. Like, and you obviously knew I was a fan, but I never, expressed like the gratitude I have for that. Like, you made me happy in a time in my life where I might not have had any happiness. So for
Wow.
that, I thank you.
Dude, you are very welcome. Thank you. I had no idea when I started this journey 20 years ago that I would be still doing it and that I would be in such amazing, successful franchises, more than like plural, like
Right.
not just one. I started with this huge one, Dragon Ball, and then I've been able to dabble in all these other ones, and then it comes back around to Dragon Ball with Super and all these games through the years. And
And we didn't even
where
touch
is
on
it going in
Street
the future?
Fighter. Like there's so
Yeah,
many that we haven't even touched on because, man, you've got the resume. You've got just the huge IMDb. Like, look at all this, bro. Like,
I've done a few things. I got a first world problem, man. I've done so much that people say, "You remember working on this?" I'm like, no, no, I'm in that. And sometimes they're so secretive, they don't tell me what I'm working on. Like, I had no idea I was in Red Dead Redemption. I'm just like a background like person, and news to me.
well, I just wanted to take a moment to just acknowledge that and say thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Thank you for doing this interview, and
Sure.
plug your stuff, man. Like, tell the people where they can find you. Talk about your Twitch. Send all the people your way, man.
All right. Well, I'm most active social media wise on Twitter and Instagram. And my handle is at Kyle Hebert. It's my name, Kylehebert. Looks like Hebert, not Herbert. Looks like Hebert, but it's pronounced a bear, like a bear is attacking me. So you can find me on there. On Twitch, this is easy to remember because you can't get it, you can't unhear it. Go on with your own bad self. That is my Twitch channel. You can join me. I got my schedule listed there, but for the time being, I'm basically streaming practically every day for at least an hour. And I am very interactive with the chat. And, you can watch me play video games terribly. If people are interested in having a video shout out for a best friend, a significant other, or just because you want it, you can have the narrator say, happy birthday, John. You're going Super Saiyan, all that sort of stuff. You can go to cameo.com/Kyle Hebert. And on the 26th, don't know if this will be out by then, but July 26th, I'm doing a signing with Geek Sign, basically on my Instagram Live. You can go to the link in my bio, pick up a print. I've got lots of characters, lots of prints available. You purchase it, you type in your info, what you want me to sign it with or personalize it. I'll have that information in front of me when I do the stream. You come to the stream, I'll say hi to you. I'll show you the autograph that I made for you, and then we drop it in the mail afterwards. So hopefully we'll get to see you on the Instagram live chat. And again, the link's in the bio on Instagram, and I've got a pinned tweet on my Twitter.
And you know what? I will make sure to get this episode out before then so that the people can know. So, man, thank you so much. I wish you the best. You're a good spirit. And also, as someone who has worked with Kyle, he was on my album. I can tell you, he does a great job. Pay for the cameo. He's awesome.
Yay! Thank you, Greg. Thank you so much. And I appreciate all the opportunities, even though I can't always make it when we can sit there and bond over things like Kiss and the Wild Hearts.
We didn't even talk about Kiss. We got to do another one. We got to just talk about Kiss next time. There's so much. I got so caught up in just all the things you did. We didn't talk about Kiss, man. We messed up. That's next time. Next time we got to do Kiss talk.
Next time.
Next time. All right, that's the episode. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.